I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
The harder I want to hit you.
I'm happy because of being here today. Fuck you.
Come on, you want me to drive? You're supposed to be suicidal, remember? I'll
anybody
drive.
a drive?
Let's get in the car.
Fucking shit. Fuck me in the fucking ass. Fuck you, you fucking stupid cunt.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I am here with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for a video game film adaptation that was not made by Hollywood and actually came out during January, same weekend as Send Help, and is directed by a YouTuber named Markiplier. And that is going to be for none other than Iron Lung, which is based off a 2022 survival horror video game that's more independently made. But from what I know is that you're basically a character in a submarine, and you get pictures of these creatures, and you're pretty much having to survive. It's pretty much the concept of the game. And you know, this movie, I could see why people loved it, and why it was very successful, and I'll get to why in the review. So, what is the plot of Iron Lung? So, it's a set of post-apocalyptic future where event knows a quiet rapture caused unknown stars and planets in the universe to disappear. A convict gets sent to search an ocean of blood, discovered on a desolate moon, and using this small submarine nicknamed the Iron Lung. So yeah, the whole movie, there's really nobody else apart from a few voices and a few brief glimpses of the soldiers who send there, but other than that, the rest of them appear as voices. Most of the movie on screen is him in the submarine. So that's my reaction. I've never really played the game or heard of it, but I heard of all the buzz of this movie adaptation and hearing how very faithful to the game it was and not Hollywoodized, so I was interested in checking it out. I went to see it last night, and how was this movie? You know what? For someone who's never played the game before, this was honestly one of my top favorite movies of 2026. And you know, yeah, obviously there's still shitty movies that have come out. Like I've heard Return to Silent Hill was shitty, I've heard Stranger Chapter 3 was shitty, but I don't want to watch them right now. Maybe I'll watch them eventually, but not right now. Alright? I wanted to decide. I wanted to go see this and not waste my time right now with The Strangers Chapter 3. So I wanted to see this instead. And you know, I'm glad I did. And this movie is one of my top favorite movies of the year. And it's one of my top favorite horror movies of the year. And you know what's ironic? It's ironic how a YouTuber, who has actually definitely played the game, makes a way better video game movie than Universal and Blumhouse could have ever did with Five Nights at Freddy's 2 last year. Or Warner Bros. Could even do with Minecraft. Yeah, and you know what the movie did kind of remind me of? It kind of, in a way, reminded me of this movie. It kind of reminded me a bit of the tone of this movie with how the tone of Iron Lung went. It kind of felt like watching a modern Event Horizon, a more lower budget Event Horizon, if it was just one person. It felt like the tone of that movie, so it was nice to see that. Because I love Event Horizon. So how was this film made? So it was around February 2023 when David Simansky, the creator of the game, had joked on Twitter that Mark Fishback and Sean McLaughlin would be starring a film adaptation of the game Iron Lung, who are known by their online usernames Markiplier and Adaptations, would star in a film adaptation of the game Iron Lung, which both of them had actually played, and a soundtrack by Andrew Hulshot would be for a summer release. Then an interview with Variety on March 8, 2023, Fishback confirmed he was directing and writing and acting for a film, but he did not state what it was. And McLaughlin confirmed on Twitter that he would be in it. And Szymanski assisted with the script and pre-production and filmed a brief cameo for the film. Andrew Hulshult was also confirmed to be scoring, and Ireland is actually his first film soundtrack. Then on April 2023, Dispatch officially announced the film adaptation of Ireland with the release of a teaser trailer. And Deadline Hollywood had reported that Dispatch was self-financing and co-starring with Keller Rose Kaplan, producing with Will Hyde and Jeff Gurrow, and filming had already begun in Texas. Szymanski confirmed it was going to be getting a theatrical release, even without a studio. And it would be Dispatch's first theatrical film, because he had directed and wrote a YouTube original interactive films called The Heist of Markiplier in 2019, and Space with Markiplier in 2022. And this movie, when Ireland was officially shot and completed, it was not very well marketed. It was kind of kept secret. But it was released in North America on January 30th, 2026. So while, yeah, for every video game movie, they usually get mixed reviews from critics, but this got positive reviews and acclaim from audiences, and got acclaim from fans of the game. For good reason. And despite no studio making this movie, and being self-made by the director, it was a financial success. Grossed $28 million so far on a production budget of only $3 million. Yeah, it is. Yeah, like, and this literally has Hollyweird actually already. This got Hollyweird scared when they saw the box office results. And that's the thing. This YouTuber made an actually great, faithful video game movie. Why? Because this was made by a guy that actually played the game it's adapting and is actually familiar with it. So this movie is 100% faithful to the game. I never played the game myself, but I have heard of how the game goes. But you can tell this guy at least did his research, so at least they got a guy who actually is familiar with the source material to actually make this movie. And it paid off. No Hollywood studio, independently made, just made strictly, distributed strictly by himself, paid off well. And and honestly, even if I didn't play the game, I actually really loved this movie. Really. Some people are like, it's so slow, but honestly, I can see why it's slow. Some people might not like that, but I'll get to that stuff later. So here are the good qualities in the story of Iron Lung. So Iron Lung is not just a video game movie adaptation. It's a character study that dives deep into a world that's unknown. The entire film takes place in a submarine that's sealed off from the rest of the world, and you're very aware of the threat that looms nearby. You only see like photos of the creatures, but whenever the submarine either shakes or gets damaged, you know they're attacking it. Like YouTubers like Markiplier are able to pull out video game cinema well when they're faithful when they are aware of the source material. Because the cinematography he does is amazing. Markiplier nails the claustrophobic nature and the suspense of the game. And they use the light as both this plot point and a dramatic element. Like, there's times this film did kind of give me a bit of a headache with the camera work. So if you do plan on seeing the film, if you're a little easily nauseous by certain camera work, be ready for that. Because the camera work does get the colors do get a bit bright. So if you have epilepsy problems, just be ready for that stuff. And the way it's shot, like, it's meant to be very realistic and claustrophobic with the shots. Right there, and like, because it's pretty much a claustrophobic survival horror video game, where you're not really anywhere else. You're trapped in a submarine, under a river of blood. And I think this film even broke the record for most fake blood used in a film. It's not like a viciously violent killing gory movie, but there is some pretty good gore whenever some of the river of blood enters the submarine. Markiplier actually plays a main character himself and also directs it and puts it on amazing performance as a conflict. And after the first 2 minutes, it's easy to forget, like, he's Markiplier, and also the director is playing the character and not our main character. It's a beautiful use of 2 hours straight, and the effects and makeup are disturbingly real, and they're very well done. Like, Markiplier did not hold up on the blood. So I like that. Yeah, and I like that he actually made this movie R-rated and did an all PG-13 like Hollywood probably would have done. And actually made it faithful to the blood, likely the blood in the game. The pacing and plot can be taken well. It adds to the atmosphere. It doesn't take it away. It doesn't leave the viewer confused or wondering what's going on beyond the lead character. Well, there's only really one lead character the whole time, and it's really just Markiplier playing our convict. So how do we start off? So we start off in the distant future. The Quiet Rapture was an event that caused all stars and planets to go mysteriously, and only those on space stations and spaceships remain, and the human population reduced to very few. So you barely really see anybody apart from the main character. Our convict character named Simon was imprisoned for his involvement in the destruction of a space station, ends up being forced to pilot this submarine called the Iron Lung in exchange for being freed, because the Iron Lung is sent to explore a moon that's covered in an ocean of blood. The submarine gets welded shut and the porthole is sealed, so Simon can only see outside using this crude camera. Right there, and there's no windows, so it adds to the claustrophobic feel. The limited communications can arrive through radio from members of the mission's crew that present at the surface, and that's kind of how our film really starts off. The storytelling is vague, but it works beautifully in the film's favor, and well, much like the concept of the game, the ambiguity, it does well in building tension and unease and not trying to provide answers, because in this movie, some things are better off left unanswered. You're not supposed to really see anything. And it's really very accurate, and it's very respectful to the whole tone, because that's how the game goes. The game, you don't really see anything either, apparently. The achievement really does deserve recognition from Markiplier. And the filmmaking from Markiplier is very phenomenal here. The camera work, the sound design, the atmosphere are executed at a high level. The camera is locked inside the sub with Simon the entire time. Maybe that might be a little unconventional, but it's clear that Mark is, what Mark is aiming for. And it clicks well, and it really adores to the choice. And the camera opportunity really constraint does feel fully utilized. The level of attention is very notably well done. Like, this is what whenever we get video game movies, you know what? We need more video game movies to be done like Iron Lung, done by people that are actually familiar with games. Now, you do get some good Hollywood nice stuff here, like the Sonic movies, Mario. When you get lucky, like those ones are Hollywood game adaptations that at least that do stick true to the source material, at least done by filmmakers in Hollywood that know the source material well. But when it comes to the more survival horror video games, they should be done more like Iron Lung. Done by people that are done by more minor, not so well-known filmmakers that at least know the game, have played it, and actually know what they're doing. Enough of this. Instead, not more shit like Borderlands or Minecraft TikTok movie, PG-13 Five Nights at Freddy's movies. Like, this is definitely how filmmaking can be paved. And also, and honestly being made more independently, not being made by major studios. Now, yeah, no, Return to Silent Hill was independently made, and it was not so well received, but I haven't reviewed that movie yet, so I can't comment on Return to Silent Hill. But I can tell I probably will hate it. But the passion for heart for a good story can definitely conquer. Here, there's much more beyond the edge of the screen and the balance of the book. Like, you have to kind of think for yourself and imagine what comes next with this movie. Usually nowadays, some studios would rather focus on trying to use something like this. If they had made this, they would try to use it to set up a sequel after prequel, after reimagining, or maybe after legacy sequel or multiverse, or making more 7 fucking Scream movies. Which, why? Stop. I don't know why we need a 7th Scream movie. That series died with Wes Craven. So anyway, back to the film. So once the submarine dives, the sensors do indicate movement outside, and Simon is able to capture the skeleton on the ocean floor, and the photos that taken are these little black and white X-ray style photos, which was a very nice way to show us the creatures, what's going on outside of the submarine, the only way to be able to see outside of the submarine. And the crew then eventually do return the submarine to the surface to review his findings, and this is the only time in the movie you really get to the surface. But then, of course, they decide that they're going to send Simon back down to get a sample, and Simon is frustrated with this and wants to be freed, but he activates the camera to get the crew's attention, but the commander, who's one of the only few other humans you see in the movie, for like this one scene, she berates Simon with the camera being this X-ray device and really heavily erratic the crew outside of the submarine, and they send him back into the blood ocean. So he's forced to do the rest of his quest against his own will. And at first, Simon is led to believe that he's the first pilot of the submarine. He finds these audio logs from a previous pilot, and it turns out he was lied to. And one of them states it was an mission, it was actually really an execution. So this does well in getting like Simon a little suspicious. And it's like some of these audio recordings are really scary, they're really disturbing, they're really well acted, with the voice actors that provide for them. He does try telling the commander about this image of a creature, but she ignores it and makes him collect a sample. Simon progresses his journey where blood and this liquid drip into the sub, and then Simon gets knocked unconscious when he gets a sample of it, and he ends up in the submarine with camera pictures showing movements, and he does get to repair the sub, and wants to go to a charted area, but he starts having hallucinations and even loses his grip on reality. Now, when it comes to the sound design of the movie, the sound design is very important for the viewer and myself, especially those familiar with the game. And the sound design, I think, does deliver well. The sound design really does terrific. There's some problems with the sound design, but the sound design for the rest of the film does well. With the plot and the minimal sea change, like the movie's very great and dreadful. It's more of a horror slow burn, which some people would definitely not like if they don't like slow burn stuff and just want things to go quicker, but that's not the point of this movie. This movie's trying to be faithful, so there's a good reason why I could see this movie being a slow burner. Right there, because if it wasn't a slow burner, if it went quicker, it probably wouldn't be that great. It does well in keeping you engaged throughout, pulls you into a dark universe, and the lore in the story that gets added is very well put together. It's not forced, it's not rushed, it's not lazy. It's slowly built up on, it's slowly eerie, it's slowly terrifying. The movie really does well in asking the viewer and the audience to really kind of meet the film there and really suspend the viewer disbelief. Whereas the premise you kind of have to accept, and you're not going to get easy answers out of, and not kind of be venturing too much outside the setting, because the whole film, it takes place in the submarine. The whole movie, you don't really leave a submarine at all. And you don't really see much outside the submarine because the river's all full of blood. And the only way you're able to see outside the submarine is through these X-ray pictures that are really well shot and actually make the creature designs more terrifying with the little chance you do see them. It's not a video game movie about bloody TikTok memes being thrown around to get a reaction. It's not like trying to be something like that. It's not trying to be a today slasher with dialogue and predictable stuff, or it's not trying to be some other like cringe or less fan-made version of a movie with pop culture references. It's an actual horror movie with emotion and dedication. And Iron Lung is something that has stuff and potential in this movie that what a lot of Hollywood just today lacks. Real art by real people. Some A24 stuff tries doing that, and sometimes they don't do well at that. This movie honestly does what A24 often seems to try doing a lot of times, and does it better. And specifically like what Ari Aster ever tries to do. And Iron Lung actually does it better because it's not trying to be all artsy-fartsy, it's not trying to be all prestige. Like, Iron Lung is trying to be an actually strictly faithful video game adaptation and stay true to the tone of the game. So, once we get back to Simon, he encounters this wrecked submarine called SM-8, but he can't access the data in its black box. And this woman tells him on the radio about this light that's beneath the ocean, and Simon believes he's hallucinating again, but Simon breaks the surface where his sub gets destroyed in a vision and sees his giant eye filling the stormy red sky, but then Simon wakes up again, and then the commander calls him again, and it turns out he's been missing for several days, a little longer than his oxygen supply should have lasted. And she then tells him that he has to recover the data from SM-8, and she says she's going to rescue him herself if he does that. and her name is actually Ava. But then the blood and organic matter then collect in the submarine. And Simon sees the skin on his arms is getting cracked and blistered when he takes off all the bandages. And this is some well shot, realistic practical effects here. For a movie with a budget of only $3 million, they do well with the practical effects on this stuff where Simon reveals all the blisters he's been growing, where he kind of starts to get a little more grotesque and starts to look a bit more like a zombie from all the effects he's been experiencing, the whole submarine. The cinematography is really something that's perfectly commented on. It's very stunning throughout the entire film. Even with, despite the fact it's only a submarine you're in the whole entire time. The creative camera angles are very creative. I really appreciated them a lot. The transition shots are also differently terrific. The general composition, the color choice, the lighting are all terrific. And the acting from these minor cast members who either video game actors or unknown stars or the director himself are the cast of the film, and the acting from all of them is fantastic and was delivered in a way for a movie that actually didn't feel like a movie. Their acting felt very real. Like each acting, when things, especially when things start to escalate, really put their souls into these desperate, fearful lines, and it pushes the moments very furtherly well. And the approach that's so stylistic really does have this favors atmosphere and implication over the structure, in presenting more of a middle than a not really defined beginning or end. And it's a deliberate choice that, sure, some audiences may not sit well with it, this one either, but those familiar with the genre will definitely find this rewarding. And it's a nice little slow burn where most of the movie it's either Simon kind of going around navigating, exploring the interior of the Iron Lung, and starting to kind of lose his sanity as the movie progresses. You don't feel like you really missed through anything, or anything that occurs very quickly, and every major beat in the film gets its time to simmer into the story and the character. In a way, it's kind of immerses the audience as there's kind of no way of keeping track of time, no day cycle. You just know what's going on, and by the time Ava reveals how many days it's been, you realize it's been many days, despite the fact it actually feels like one whole entire day. And by the end of the movie, you feel like you're in a completely different world from everything you just witnessed. Alright, so now we get on with the finale of the movie. So, after Simon has to go get the data from SM8, he does reach SM8 and he's able to get the data, but he finds more audio logs that confirm that the blood ocean compromises human blood. And the submarine fills more blood and fleshy matter. And Simon's like, oh shit. And it turns out Ava is not unable to rescue him, but she apologizes and asks him to protect the SM8 data because it could save what's left of humanity. And then a mysterious woman's voice says, destroy the data, so others don't learn about it. And eventually a creature does destroy Ava's vessel, but you don't see it. Once again, you only see like the x-ray photos of the creature. And Simon is unable to move through the blood that starts like pouring into the submarine, really adding to the claustrophobic feel. Like the fake blood looks perfect. The fake blood looks well designed. It looks like real blood even. And he ties a black box to a life vest and he sabotages the submarine so that the hull can fail in the pressure. And then the submarine the creature bites the submarine and implodes it. And this is one of the few times you don't see a minor x-ray shot of the creature. If you were going to find a way that reveals the creature, this was the best way to do it. Where the submarine gets bit by the creature and it blows and the creature dies and Simon dies. And then the last shot of the movie is this life vest that gets shown floating on the surface of the blood ocean, and the black box is still intact. And then the credits roll there. But that's how the end of Iron Lung goes, where Simon dies in the SM-13, the future of humanity is still uncertain, but Simon does take the creature down, and is able to send SM-13's black box to the surface, and it's going to be recovered by what remains of humanity. But whatever the anglerfish or remains of the crew's minds to be believed, there is a chance that might not really be a good thing. No. So, it might still lead to more problems. So, in the end, humanity is likely still doomed. But it was a nice way to end a film that did feel a little reminiscent of a video game adaptation of this movie. Yeah, which also was a slow burner. Right there, except unlike Event Horizon that's set in space, this one is set in a more blood-like ocean, in one entire setting. But that's the end of this movie. Was honestly a nice way to end this very faithful video game adaptation. Now, do I have any bad qualities with the film? So I'd say for bad qualities, there is some dialogue that's a little hard to discern, and a little hard to hear at times. It's a stylistic choice, but it does kind of feel a little out of place at times. Sometimes there's bits of the movie where there's not much really happening, but it helps highlight the sense where the story moves forward. But they get bogged down by over-explained stuff. And some flashbacks too. Like you do see flashbacks of Simon as a kid with these other kids by his tree, which was just an alright moment. And some of the camera work gets a little bit bright, and some of the camera work is a little too blurry. But other than those, I think Iron Lung is fucking awesome. And it's how to make a faithful video game film adaptation when you hand the source material to the person who's actually familiar with it, with what they're adapting. We need more stuff like this. You know what? We need more survival horror game film adaptations to start being made exactly like this movie. And I hope we do get more of that. And I hope Markiplier gets to adapt more games he's played into movies. After this movie's success, I hope Markiplier gets to do more of that stuff. Like, Markiplier should be doing more horror video game adaptations for stuff he's played. So in the end, I say the Iron Lung, if you're a fan of the game, is wicked worth buying if you love the game, because this movie is very faithful to it. Anyways, that's it for my view of Iron Lung. You want to know how to rank Iron Lung? Here's how I'm going to rate this movie. So overall, if you love the game and want to see a faithful adaptation of a game, then you will for sure love this movie, no doubt. And if you're wondering how to rank Iron Lung, I'm going to give Iron Lung a 9 out of 10. Alright, there we go, guys. That officially wraps up my review for Iron Lung. Now, I want to know in the comments down below what you guys think about Iron Lung, whether you guys really like this movie, or even if you have played or not played the game, or whether you thought this movie was a little too tedious. And until then, guys, that'll be it for this review. Thank you all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.